and the technical skills and words. And as another just a general reminder of the usual things that we got going on here, make sure that you join the Discord channel if you want to chat it up with anybody on those different channels. Make sure that you check out the Stuff on Smarka Moments YouTube channel. If you are not there right now, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the notification bell, set up your email alerts. We don't know exactly the next thing we're going to be doing for that other than World's End, I would assume. But you never know if something else is going to come along the way. And you would not be listening to this unless you are already on the tier or whatever ahead of time. But if you are for some reason, you want to pass that message along or something, the $5 and up tier over on the channel membership and the Patreon and all gives you early access to some content. So if you're on YouTube in particular, that's where you can get to have the early access content. It's kind of an ad block forgiveness thing. Darkcast, Pick Poison Tier, all that good stuff. Redbubble and TeePublic for your merchandise. If you want to pick up a holiday gift or something, that's on the Smarka Moment or Fanboys Anonymous or A Mango Teas spectrum. And, plug. All right. Got that all out of the way. Nobody cares. Anyway, we are going to go into the technical skills and words and go with the best and worst, as we always do. And as we always start off, the entrance of the year is the first category here, and that is pretty self-explanatory. It involves everything with the entrance. So you might give it based off of the song alone. You might give it based off of the pyro, whatever your best or worst might be. And I will preface the end of the year awards in each one of these categories across the board for WWE and AEW. This is the least that I think the three of us is going to have to say about any of these things than ever, because this is probably the most tapped out that the three of us have ever been. So keep in mind, you're going to hear a lot of not exactly sure, or I forgot about blank, or whatever, but it's been a rough year, so be a little forgiving, everybody. I had two things written down for my worst of the options for entrance for AEW. One of them, my runner-up option is, I'll read verbatim what I wrote. Hook's theme sucks. I don't get it. It sounds like someone plays the wrong track every time. It's just not connecting with me. I don't understand the philosophy behind it.
Specifically, you mean the new theme?
Yeah, whatever one that's like, oh, I'm gonna sing a song,
It's okay.
That's what it comes off to me. I just don't like it at all. But I hate one even more. And I've been trying this year. I'm gonna have to probably cave on some categories, but I'm trying not to just pick the like, hey, if I don't remember what it was, it must have been bad kind of categories. Like, oh, I don't know somebody's signature move, so they must be a terrible person in ROH that does that or whatever. So I'm trying to pick the things that stand out to me the most. And if there's anything that stood out to me the most for worst entrances this year, it is the CEO theme that Mercedes Moné has, because I still cannot stand that fucking thing.
You did the same thing last year.
I know, it hasn't gotten any better. It's ear grating, and it's a shame because the song itself is good, but the CEO chants that are in there and the dance that she does and all, I don't like it.
Yeah, nothing worse than a whole woman gyrating on the ring apron as their entrance thing.
I mean,
What
about
that's what you're voting for worst of the year.
if it's on mute, it's much better.
So there's like a few options I've got for worst. For like an individual one, got the Young Bucks All In. I thought that just took way too long, that like revolutionary thing that they did. It's like, okay, I know it's all in, you all want to do like big special entrances, but that one was just way too long and overdone.
So I want to jump in here because I thought that was at Double or Nothing. But maybe
No, they did the revolutionary one after Ospreay and Swerve do their entrances. And then they did like, they just go through the crowd on a stand and they're like reading out the Bill of Amendments or something like that, or some sort of equivalent to it for the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I do want to just chime in here and say that that's my pick for worst as well. I didn't like any of that Founding Father stuff. I thought it was really dumb.
Yeah. A few other ones I have is like you have Hook's new entrance thing.
I like it.
I just find it jarring. I just find it quite jarring.
Doesn't fit.
Like, usually that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for once, there's an objective winner for worst entrance of the year. There's an objective winner, and that is Mina Shirakawa's new entrance theme that was cancelled after one match.
And that's a damn good point. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think that was bad, but everybody hated it so much.
I hated it so much.
It's because everyone's gotten used to Shirakawa's thing. Shirakawa, obviously, that was just soon after she had like, officially signed with AEW, so it's okay, we're going to give her a bit of a new presentation, some new music, something along those lines. And yeah, it was just roundly rejected so vehemently that Tony Khan has to revert back to the other music by the end of the match. And just go back to the other.
That's so funny. Yeah. I felt really bad for her in that moment because like she worked on the theme, Mikey Ruckus worked on the theme. But I was like, nope, that's not what we're here for. Like, but as I said, I'm gonna go with the Young Bucks just because it reached a level of enough is enough. Where it was like, just speaking for myself at least, I just want to see them be the elite and be the Young Bucks that they were when everybody was excited about the company starting. I don't need to see them flirt with the, for lack of a better term, sports entertainment aspects of wrestling. I just want to see them be the Young Bucks.
I'm going to bring them up as positives for some other things, but I don't remember particularly liking that entrance at the very least. And I had them down actually as potential positives in the best entrance category for when they were making fun of their, the lack of entrances. I thought that a lot of those things were pretty funny. Like the,
stuff,
yeah, it was like Jeremy and Hack or something, Max Jeremy, yeah. I think that was like some of the more fun things that they had done this year. I'm going to bring that back up again when it comes to gimmicks and stuff. I wrote down a few other options, and I don't remember some of them exactly. I wrote down a couple different notes or whatever, but I had written down All In Tony Storm, even though I don't like the gimmick aesthetics. I don't remember what her All In one was. But yeah, I must have liked it enough to at least put it as potential. I'll actually give credit to Mercedes. I had down the 8 Royal Guards carrying her titles at Forbidden Door when that happened for the first time. But I also wrote down...
I don't like that it's now become like
a thing.
a Druid scenario where, okay, well, we're going to get local talent on the show. But
The way that I had it down was I liked how Mercedes Monet had the 8 royal guards carrying her titles of Forbidden Door in London, and then ... but she still has her dumb CEO theme, which ruins it.
God, you really hate
I
that.
hate it. It's so irritating. And I had also written down, as far as just like themes go, I love Claudio Castagnoli's theme. It's just a fun listen.
I would like echo that in particular, also just like the general. I've really grown to like all the Death Rider themes for the most part, and the Daniel Garcia's one's still a little bit on the fence about, but I much prefer Moxley's theme now than Wild Thing, which is crazy. So I did like Wild Thing, but it's just like it's better.
At least it's not playing 100 times too. Like the Anarchy in the Arena one, which just kept going for, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Hey, that was fun.
For a little bit. It got annoying to me. I was like, all right, I'm getting double tired. That's fun. I wrote down another one that I won't give as like an entrance thing, because it actually doesn't fit as much of an entrance. It's more of a catchphrase slogan thing. But I don't know if I'm going to go, Claudio,
I
which
know
way
where
to
you're
go?
going, because I was going to mention that one.
Is it about Don Callis?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah, I'll say that for the gimmick thing. Or the slogans. I don't know if I'm going to go between the Young Bucks or Claudio, but it's probably one of those two. What's your ultimate picks?
So my ultimate pick for best is Hangman Adam Page at Double or Nothing. I love me some Neon. I think the Neon Cowboy vibe of the entire show, and then that match with Will Ospreay was really cool, and it kind of started his climb back to the top of the card. And I think Hangman Adam Page is underrated in how much sizzle he brings to the entrance. He came out to the Red Dead Redemption music. Is that Full Gear? Or it was either October or November, but he came out to Red Dead Redemption music. He has had no problem changing up his theme. He brought back his classic theme recently, and I'm just a huge fan, but I really like the aesthetic of the Double or Nothing entrance.
I'm looking it up now because I don't remember that. He's in the desert. We got a little video package, and then yeah, the different like neon lights and stuff. Yeah.
It's the neon lights, it's the gear, and big fan of when Hangman Adam Page brings some extra flavor to the show.
Yeah, so my kind of honorable mentions I've got listed. Mercedes Monet, because I like the theme, and I like the fact that she always comes out with all her titles, because that's the gimmick, and she should be living it the way that she wants to. And I think it works to just showcase all those titles, because I'm sure all those independent promotions that she wrestles for probably appreciate it as well, that their titles are being showcased on national television every single week. Then for some more like people that just have generally very good entrances, main Tiffany is Swerve and Will Ospreay. Swerve, I know he's transitioned to a new thing now, but so just in general, he just gives off a lot more, and his interaction the crowd have with his entrance music is a big part of his aura. And Will Ospreay just always does great stuff, always has great gear, the Assassin's Creed vibes that he brings to it as well, and just the music, and again, that's a lot of crowd interaction with that as well. But the two I'm choosing between are two individual ones, both from All In. So we had the Kenny Omega one with the Final Fantasy XIV Take Flight entrance that was like sung for him when he walks through a giant flaming Omega sign as he comes out. It's like, okay, this is really like Kenny Omega from Wrestle Kingdom entrance vibes. So I thought that was really good. But the one I'm going for is also Hangman Page, but not for Double or Nothing, but for All In, because they had built out for ages that Hangman was going to go back to his original theme music. Like, it spent a long time as a heel with the more, obviously a really good thing as well, but his more grizzled heel theme, but then comes into All In, gets a nice video package to lead into it, and then hear the original music, the crowd goes wild for it, and then they even pan the camera away from the heel entrance that he'd be coming out of all the way to the babyface one, and it was just like that moment of, yes, he's accepted that he's the main character, he's the top babyface, he's the guy for this company, and so I thought that was a nice touch for the overall entrance.
I totally see the logic behind that, yeah. I forgot that was like the switch off with that, but yeah, his whole theme is so much better than the heel one, you know. So much catchier and all.
I think they both have their merits, but it's good to go from one to the other. Because that's the thing. I think Tony Khan has recognised that they can do that sort of thing, because that's exactly what's going to happen when Okada turns babyface. He's going to go back to the old Rainmaker thing.
He'll go to Miniature Kawa's old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's going to repurpose that for everybody.
Dance
Sticks. Yeah, eventually somebody else will stick with it. It'll be like, okay, they got that one. Kind of like the way that Burn in My Light was for like Orton and the Punk, or no, was it, the Punk theme was like for Orton at one point, or whatever. Well, the second category we got is clothing / attire, ring gear, but that could be the stuff that they wear before the ring. It usually ends up being that because it's more elaborate. And on the worst side, this was one of the ones where I had written down. I can't really remember what most people wear, and everybody's attire for the most part in WWE and AEW is pretty bland. Like, it's just generic wrestling gear. It's it's not as bland as what it used to be, where people just wear like trunks. But I can't tell you the difference between what most people are wearing. I don't really like Jamie Hayter's style usually. So if there's one person that I can like off the top of my head think that I never really like what their ring gear is, Hayter's one of those. I don't like Pac singlet. Just looks a little strange. I don't know. And I wrote down the Outrunners look ridiculous, but at least that's the point.
For worst, I can't think of any for like objective, like, oh, this is the worst, but maybe Callum will be able to jog my memory. Best, I'll just say right off the bat, Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher this year learned that he looks good in pink, and he has just owned the color pink, and I like that. I like when wrestlers have a signature aesthetic. I think that worked out great for Hogan and Brett, and I think more wrestlers should do that. It's an easy way to get merch in, get a lot of things, and I really like Kyle Fletcher this year.
So for my worst, the people I've got listed, Jericho, but that might just be because it's Jericho, and not so much just, it's like he just doesn't look great in that sort of stuff, the Bad Rock sort of gear. I don't know if that's all his clothing rather than his wrestling attire, but still, it's just don't look great nowadays. Jack Perry, I never liked. I don't really like the long jeans approach. I kind of don't want him to go back to the old like Jungle Boy stuff, because I think he's past that now, but he needs to find something that's a bit more fitting him. It just always looks a bit like oversized on him because he's just quite thin and lean. Mark Davis, very boring gear.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Trent Beretta, terrible. Like really, just nothing. It's also the fact that like Trent Beretta almost always just has a vacant expression on his face when he's a heel. Like none of that's worked out well for him. But I'm going to go for my worst and the start of what potentially might be the most unexpected hate train of this entire award for me. Alex Abrahantes.
What?
This ridiculous shiny, like super, like I don't know, like laminate essentially that he's wearing, that with all the coming out of all the luchador wrestlers, and just like I say, it's just his overall, it's just a bit too loud and obnoxious when he's supposed to be a babyface, like voice these people, which is like, just why does this guy have to be paired with every single babyface luchador?
I don't have the slightest idea what he's been wearing. I'm trying to look it up right now.
Like a super like
It's like a shiny gold jacket or something.
what's this sort of shiny? He has different jackets, but they're all just so like reflective that it's just like it's off-putting. It's like the luchador's supposed to be the fancy looking ones. Why are you wearing all this ridiculous attire as well?
To his point though, I don't know why they're just pairing him with random luchadors.
We'll get to that when we get to other things as well.
So on my best options, I had written down some specific ones of Swear Strickland's Predator gear from Anarchy of the Arena, Double or Nothing. It's always cool when people cosplay in some fashion and it ends up being like a reference that I like or whatever like that. Go see Predator, Badlands for anybody's interested. That was a fun movie. But I think for volume alone, because it's multiple people that ended up pulling off something pretty good, I've got written down for Wrestle Dream that Penelope Ford as Harley Quinn, Megan Bain as Poison Ivy, and then Willow and Harley having matching gear for I think the first time is when they brought that out. So I was like, okay, well, these look like tag teams. This, Harley and Willow have more standard gear, but it looks like they're a tag team. And then you got Harley and Poison Ivy, which of course you win some extra bonus points for me because it's a DC thing. And then you get bonus points for it's Penelope Ford as Harley Quinn and it's Megan Bain as Poison Ivy. Like, of course it's not going to be a negative. So probably gonna go with them, although it's kind of 50-50 split for me between, because I really liked the Predator gear too.
I want to shout out real quick because my memory was jarred. Brody King came out with an Abolish Ice shirt.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, major bonus points for that.
That's just bonus points for a great shirt. Very, very cool that he would do that. And yeah, I just want to give him a little shout out there.
I'm going to add that down to my notes because he should get extra praise for that.
So big thing I have listed, I had both Megan Bain and Ford for the DC get up as well. I'd like to have seen them more often, but obviously, unfortunately, with like Penelope Ford's injury, that she hasn't really been involved in too much more than just like coming out and being Megan Bain second instead. Carl Fletcher, as Rob mentioned, he has just fantastic gear all the time. Say Bandido has great gear as well. For, like obviously the uniqueness of his mask is just like it's a set apart from other luchadors out there. And then the main four are the ones that I just think generally have great attires, and probably one of these ones I choose from is Mercedes, Monet, Tony Storm, Will Ospreay, and Swear Strickland. They just always put a lot of effort and thought into their overall appearance and attire. I think I'll go with Ospreay just because I really like the aesthetics that he brings to it. I like the fact that he seems to cycle gear between pay-per-views. So he comes out on the next pay-per-view and it's like a brand new shade or new colour aesthetic, changes entrance to suit that as well. And so I just think that he puts a lot of effort into like putting gear together. So yeah, I'll go with Ospreay.
Now here is the first category that I have got almost nothing in my mind for, and that's signature maneuver. It is incredibly hard for me to remember the finishers and the signature moves of the wide variety of the roster that we have at these points with both companies on top of the multiple shows and all that. But a lot of people don't necessarily have standout signature moves the way that they typically used to. I mean, when you would see a Shawn Michaels match, every match would end with Twitch and music and whatever. And I couldn't tell you out of both rosters, even when I pay more attention to with WWE, I couldn't tell you what half of the people's finishers are. And when you throw in that AEW talent tends to also win matches more often without a finisher, and they have a little bit more variety to their pinfalls and stuff, that makes it even harder to remember. Like I couldn't tell you the official finisher for Josh Alexander, even like right now, I have no idea what his finisher is. I probably should know, but I don't off the top of my head, So I had always been a big negative towards Eddie Kingston for the signature move for that like back fist or whatever it is that he does. I don't know if he's done that.
Yeah, well, he tried to do it on Big Cass and didn't.
That's right. That was this year. I was thinking that was last year. And I was like, I think that was last year though. But yeah, he did do that spinning back fist and completely whiff, and then Big Cass or Big Bill sold it. Yep. So I'm gonna go with that one as my worst. And then on my positive, the only thing I had written down, and I'm sure that you guys will jog my memory for plenty of other ones, but I kind of like how Moxley has some different bulldog choke variations once in a while. And it's like it's simple, it's effective. He's kind of he's a scroungy dude,
Yeah, positive wise, as always, Hidden Blade's great. I think there were some cool buckshots this year. There were lots of fun, like just gnarly spots. Like I was thinking about getting into this just this year. Shock value of like edge suplexing Mox on the barbed wire, but not the barbed wire, the spikes. But as far as like finishing move of the year, I think I'm gonna go with, if not the Hidden Blade, probably the fact that this year Ospreay made a habit out of finishing people with Styles Clash, and I like that he's got more than two ways of beating people now. I think more wrestlers should, because finishing moves don't finish matches, and I really like that Ospreay was diversifying it this year.
Got any first before I move on?
Oh, you said it. You thankfully said it. That big Bill Eddie Kingston thing was so bad that I think it threw Eddie's trajectory off, because people were just like, oh, it's not the same. Got it. That wasn't great. Not a fan of that at all. As far as other worst ones, there's nothing that stands out as egregiously, so I'll just let you take over.
Yeah, so I obviously have to back fist as one of the options for the worst, which because it looked bad in the done so far. I traditionally didn't pick it, but like this time, just because the sample size hasn't been great this year. There's some like consistent ones. Like I hate Bobby Lashley's spear. I hate the forward flip spear. It looks bad. Like it looks like he loses the momentum in the front flip. So it just doesn't look as impactful as if he just charge through someone.
We're gonna talk a lot about effective versus ineffective spears over the course of these awards.
I like this. So this in theory should be great, but it just isn't good in execution, which is Willie Uter's Psycho Knee. Like he should take Daniel Bryan Danielson's move, because that is he was the one that eventually like turned his back on him finally and was the one that really stuck the knife in, but he just doesn't hit it well enough to make it feel like it's worth. He probably managed to switch to the bell lock or something. But the two are two that I don't like because they just are very inconsistent in the way they hit, which is the Money Maker.
Yep, that's another good one.
And Code Blue from Sky Blue.
Code Blue might be. There's something to be said for maybe she should just get a new move.
It's easy because I don't want to because like Mercedes is a great wrestler and does pretty much anything else in the match well, and Sky Blue's improved a lot over the last few years. But they need better finishes that are just going to land each and every time. I don't care whether it's Monet just moves to like the Frog Splash as a finisher, or just sticks to a like submission move instead, and then Sky Blue could probably come with something that's a bit more just based and grounded, so it's less flamboyant to try it, or just hit just a regular one where she just flips over and hits it rather than has to do the run up and get herself in position to do it, because also it looks a bit bad that you have to have a person hunched over waiting for ages for this move to land or not land. I think she's botched it just a few times this year, but like a couple of times is too many. It's supposed to be like the main move that finishes matches, so I'll probably go Code Blue for that.
Across the board, if you have to have your finisher look like the person is waiting for you to do the finisher to them, that's never a good thing.
Yeah, the 619 is the exception, but I think people take it as the rule.
Bear in mind, with the 619, at least the idea is he kicks them into the ropes, and so they're supposed to be like, they get their throat hits the ropes, and so they're staggered there.
Sometimes. Yeah.
So the best ones, there's like plenty to choose from. House Call was great. I love the end of Heart 8 from Roderick Strong when he gets to do it. Shelby Benjamin might have the best super kick in the game right now. Like his super kicks look great.
True.
The O-Face from Athena, like a Techless Spider Suplex is great. Obviously the classics like the Rainmaker and Backshot Lariat. The three that I'm stuck between is the Hidden Blade because it is, in my mind, the greatest finishing move going today. The 21 Plex, because it's one of those ones where he waits big, it looks cool, so I'm going to allow it. Type thing of him, like Bandido doing the sunset flip over into the German suplex. And then Carl Fletcher's Turnbuckle Brainbuster, which he doesn't pull out very often, but it's like it's your super finisher essentially. The regular Brainbuster's not going to get the job done, you go to the top turnbuckle and do it. So if you'll go with the Turnbuckle Brainbuster, it's like basically only Carl Fletcher and Sami Zayn do it. So it's kind of very exclusive as a move for people to do. It looks gnarly whenever anyone does it. I think a guy like Mark Briscoe sells it incredibly well. So yeah, I'll go with that as the best.
I also just memory was jogged, so I have another one for worse because I just never liked it. Ricochet Spirit Gun. It works, sure, but I just don't like it. It seems kind of to me.
Especially for a guy that could do so much more.
I mean, it's smart to start rounding his game
Yeah.
and being a little more long term, but it just feels blah.
So the next category we got is slightly different variation of that. Instead of it just being like the best and worst, this is the best/coolest spot and the worst/biggest botch. So, because you can't say like what's the worst spot without saying that it's most likely a botch, and you can't say what's the best botch because that doesn't make any sense. So, the coolest like one shot thing that had happened, maybe it's not a finisher, but maybe it's something that happened, just a rare thing. Maybe it is a finisher even at some point, or it could be a wide variety of things. We've gone all across the spectrum on this over the years. And I only have one thing written down for the botch because I had forgotten about the Eddie Kingston backfist, but I still think that this is worse. Thunder Rosa tries to save Chris Statlander and threaten Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford with a steel chair, only for Bayne and Ford to stand the ground and Rosa to be awkwardly flustered, not knowing what to do. That's what I have written down.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list.
Yes, I vaguely recall that this happened, and yeah, it was silly.
It was kind of the equivalent of when you see somebody be like, "Hold me back, bro, hold me back," and nobody's doing it, and it's like, "Then why aren't you fighting the person?" Like you're holding a chair, threatening to hit Megan Bayne, and Bayne's just like, "Okay, do it." Which I don't know if that was like Bayne's fault or if it was some weird timing thing, and everybody was just confused, but it made everybody look bad. And that's a botch is a botch. It's not something you planned to begin with, but if you're gonna screw something up, it's better at least to be like, "Oh, the person slipped." It all happens. It's another thing when it's just like, now you just completely broke the illusion of this being an actual feud.
Yeah,
I would say
definitely on my list.
Oh, go ahead, Cal.
So that's definitely a contender. It might be the winner for me. I have a few other ones, and I don't always decide on the spot. One that's a bit sad, and I don't really want because I don't think this is the reason why he's out injured right now. But there was that Adam Cole powerbomb on the ring apron spot with Carl Fletcher.
We'll talk about that in another category.
Yeah, which I don't think it directly relates to his current injury, but I think obviously it looked bad and the optics weren't good for it. But then there's two other things which are not wrestling botches. Well, obviously it's a wrestling show, but they're not like direct wrestling botches. Which is one, there was an episode of Collision that lost the final 30 minutes of it on TV.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it just went away and like never came back for the final 30 minutes, so they had to push that out in a different way. They also, just add on top of that, there was a Ring of Honor show this year, which they struggled to get out, which meant they had to put it on YouTube directly. So that's production botches.
Do you have the date for that Collision? Because I don't recall that.
I listed in my notes as AEW's final 30 minutes Collision. I can remember.
That's wild. That's wild for AEW. But I will say, Ring of Honor, for whatever reason, does tend to have more technical hiccups, and I don't understand that because, to the best of my knowledge, it's the same team, right?
Like, yeah, I think so.
You would think so, but I would agree that losing it was a Death Before Dishonor where it had to all go up on YouTube, and then you had to pay out people. That's got to be pretty high up there.
Yeah. So I've just looked at it. So the final 30 minutes of the May 17th, 2025 episode of Collision cut off due to technical difficulties with studio transmission, so it ended after 9 minutes on the East Coast and Max feeds. So obviously not great. So I missed a couple of matches at the end of it. But then the other ones I have are there were two big ref botches this year. So there was the All-In Tag Title match where you had a Bandido and Brody King winning titles, but then they hit their move.
Oh,
the
yeah.
referee just didn't seem to get in position to count it, or like side count and assume there was a kick out, and so they had to go back and pin them again. So it just took a little bit of the air out of that move at the end of the big moment of them winning titles. But the other, which was more obvious, was the Shelton Benjamin Mike Bailey match.
That's right, yeah.
Where Benjamin is going to end it. They decided, we're going to go home early because Benjamin hits this awesome super kick on Bailey and said, okay, we're just going to end it there because nothing's going to get better than that. And then the referee, because he knows that's not the finish, decides, Bailey's not kicking out, but he's supposed to kick out, so I'm going to stop the count here. And so they have to go back to finish, so they lose the peak on that one as well. So, and this is a consistent thing with some AEW referees. They just make these mistakes. I think there's this, again, not just like an AEW thing, but like a long line of things with a lot more choreographed elements of wrestling that they feel like, oh, this is part of the performance and they've just made mistakes, so I can't go along it. It always needs to be drummed into every single referee across the board's mind that you play it like it's a shoot. And if the wrestlers make mistakes, then that's on them. But you play the shoot. You can't make them look bad by trying to do your job, like trying to play into the story, play it like it's real. So, because then the referee can never be at fault if they play it like it's real, because it's like, it's wrestlers that fucked up then. So I'll probably go with that, but just the two referee botches as like a package, because just to be different from the Thunder Rosa thing.
In general, even outside of the botchiness, I want to see the referees get a little more authoritative. Like sometimes they're just literally like, well, I know this would go against the in-universe rules, but I have to let it fly, and you just see them doing nothing instead of like actively participating, at least trying to maintain the illusion that they're keeping authority. So I would also just want to point that out as well. As far as I'm not gonna call it a botch because it was a terrible moment, but my worst spot of the year is Kota Ibushi getting injured because I was not only because it was terrible, but I was there and it sucked the air out of Bailey's place. And poor Kota has had a lot of injuries in recent years, but that was so like painful to watch, and then you see it on TV even more painful, and that's the most heartbreaking spot of the year for me.
I agree with obviously that being like a really bad moment. I didn't know whether I could classify it. I did have it like kind of in my mind, but I didn't know whether I could classify it as a botch because it kind of like just one of those things that happens. But
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of calling it like worst in-ring like moment, because I don't want to say like a botch, like, oh, they fucked up, because obviously guy got seriously hurt. It's just I do want to point out there's probably nothing more like painful than that for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard to like put a value on the botch that is just like a botch and like referee screwing up or whatever versus botches that lead to injuries and all, because you kind of want to in some ways be like, oh, I mean, that screwed over this person's whole trajectory, and it's, you know, you botched and got injured and whatever. But then at the same time, they're human beings, so it always kind of seems mean to like kick them while they're down, you know. But sometimes it does just sort of match up, and you know, that's unfortunate. It always sucks when those kind of things happen too, especially with like really bad injuries, and you're just like, ugh, okay. On the coolest spot side of things, though, I actually have a lot written down that I, you know, throughout the year. This was one of the few things that I was like, I didn't remember to write that down, and then I did remember to write it down. So stop me if it's your pick. I'm just gonna read my list. I don't know which one I'm gonna go with yet. I've written down the Spanish Fly from Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher off the steel cage onto thumbtacks, and plenty of other things that they did against each other at AEW Revolution.
You know, I did not stop you right off the bat, but I do think that Spanish Fly is ultimately my spot of the year, because that was just insane. It's more insane that it didn't finish the match, but that was just insane that they went out there and did that. And it was March, so I think maybe people forget, but like that was a brutal match. And as far as spot foo is concerned, maybe that was the peak of AEW this year. So that's my cool spot of the year.
I mean, that made an impression enough for me to put that as the first thing that I wrote. So could be that. I've got Jon Moxley takes a suplex onto the nail board from Dynamite, March 19th.
That's a big contender for me. Again, I'll decide whether that's the right choice. But it's stuck. He gets up and it's still stuck in his back. It's fucking insane.
I had to stop the match for a minute because it was just like, oh shit, it's stuck.
That's I wouldn't want to do any of those things. I have down no particular spot stood out, but the overall hardcore element of the Anarchy in the Arena match. So I guess it must have just been, you know, this is a lot of fun, but there's not like the big moment to write down. I wouldn't do that best spot fix the whole match, you know what I mean?
The one I that sticks on mind is Ring Fear staple gunning Swerve's tongue.
There was that part. There was the moment where they had been playing. Was it I'm So Excited that they played, and then came back and they started playing with the bodies to the floor. That was a cool spot. There's a couple in that match. Like overall, that match is a fun contender for this one.
I've got written down Jon Moxley digs into Darby Allin's ear with a fork at Forbidden Door.
I know one for Forbidden Door, but it was like more just like a funny spot, but still one that's memorable to me. There's a point in the match where like people diving off loads of things, and then Tanahashi starts climbing up a ladder, and everyone just goes, no, Tanahashi, don't climb up the ladder, you're going to die, you're retiring. And so that was just like a funny little moment that I think everyone in the crowd, because I was there live, that everyone else there really enjoyed.
I think I might go with this one, but I still have like 4 more after this one too to read off. These are just like in sequential order. I've got for the 6th anniversary of Dynamite, Marina Shafir slammed barefoot on thumbtacks.
That was sick. That's what.
Fuck me. I think that the thumbtacks are some of the worst things they do, and then barefoot, no, not a chance. Controversial opinion, apparently, according to a lot of people. I've got written down the Darby Allin in a fish tank spot from Wrestle Dream.
Oh yeah, so yeah, obviously,
Sarah
Stock would have. Yes, Sarah Stock would have probably disagreed with you.
I mean, we did just kind of rag on her on the last podcast.
Yeah, but who doesn't love a little bit of waterboarding on TV?
Like that's what I give that credit for is it's something that I hadn't seen, I think, ever in wrestling. Yeah. And the whole argument of like, well, you shouldn't do that because kids are going to do that. How many kids are going to? It's midnight. How many kids are watching this show that are going to go, I think I'm going to just jump up and use the fish tank and do whatever or something that wouldn't also do any of the other things that are happening? You know, try to powerbomb their little brother or super kick their friend or, you know, whatever it might be, jump off of a ladder. Like the fish tank thing, it's no different than anything else. If anything, that's something that you have to already be like, well, you have to own a fish tank for that. And like, you know, it's a safer thing that it's less likely to happen than for it to be other things.
Just watch your children.
Like the plastic bag is worse than that, I think. Because there's plastic bags all over the place.
But seriously, just like
stop blaming other people for being a bad parent. Yeah. I've got down. This one is a different type of a spot, but I really wanted to give them credit for this because they pulled it off really well. Hangman disguises himself as Tony Schiavone on Fright Night.
Yeah.
They got me on that. Like the makeup and everything that they had, the prosthetic, whatever, you know, and the way that they matched up his movements with the microphone overhead and all. I thought that was great. I did not see that coming. I was like, this is kind of weird that they're not doing this. They're doing this weird segment here with like these people dressed up, and normally one of them is just gonna be like, and that one's Hangman. I'm like, no, they didn't do that. I don't know where we're going here. Oh crap, it's Tony Schiavone. You know? And then just random other two that I wrote down. Claudio's able to swing on do his swing on Darby Allin while Orange Cassidy is choking him out, blood and guts. That was very impressive. And also the flaming table spot with Pac and Darby Allin.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I had the Darby Allin set on fire thing from like the that match. I also have there's a spot in a match they have Claudio where Claudio launches him from the ring onto the announce table perfectly. Like the pure Spy Dudley spot. It's like okay, I almost want to say this spot of the year goes to Darby Allin for just being Darby Allin almost.
Right.
He didn't jump off Adverse though and do an elbow drop or something like I wanted.
Also cool spot Sting during that Quit match where you know he saved Darby from the waterboarding. I thought that was really cool and a good way to use Sting.
The two other things I'd written down for this spot would be there's a Paige choking out Moxley as the finish to that match because it was just Moxley's panicked expression while he's just being choked. It's like, oh my god, this guy just knows that he's like terrified. It's just he pulled that off so well, and it's kicked off the current like flow of his story right now. And the other one is is Mariah May and Toni Storm wrap their fists in glass and start doing the kind of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn fight forever spot. That was like, okay, these two bitches are crazy and they're just gonna fuck each other up in this crazy way. It's like because even when they put in their hand in the glass and obviously like just selling how painful it is to just put their hands there, but they just come up with their fists covered in it and just like beating the shit out of each other. That was so cool. That was cool as well. But I think I'll go with the suplex on the spike because it's like he had a fucking spike in his back that he's walking around with for a few seconds, and that's just I don't think I've seen anything as like obviously the feet in the thumbtacks, but thumbtacks are kind of not played out, but we've seen a lot of it. We had a match where it was all thumbtacks pretty much over the ring, so that was slightly different about actually seeing. I've seen those spike bats around before. Like Abyss had one famously in like TNA, but I've never seen it actually impale someone before.
Like actually stick in, yeah. It always seems like it could be like maybe it's not actually all that sharp, where the tips could be rounded, or I mean it's gonna hurt no matter what. But when it sticks into the back, it's pretty much
like that, yeah.
It's like it's got a sticker, and it's just very adhesive. We're on recognition, the most underrated and the most overrated. Get your pitchforks out. My most overrated is essentially the entire women's division. I still repeat the phrase that I've been saying since the beginning of AEW. I do not think that they have a healthy women's division. They do have a better women's division right now in some ways than they've had in other times, but I still look at the list and I just go, there's like 6 people on here that I care about. And they don't rank anywhere near as high as a lot of the WWE women. So I don't know who to go with on that front necessarily, but there's a lot of other people that I think are kind of overrated. But when I look at just people going like, oh, it's the best women's division, and I'm like, really? Are you really going that crazy over when we got like, I don't know, like the 4th in line to potentially fight for the championship is going to be somebody like Tay Mello or something like that. Like, I don't know if I'd really go best women's division and all.
She definitely be 4th in line for it. She'd probably be like 14th or 15th in line.
But I'm like, the division revolves around Toni Storm, who I keep repeating. I don't love the gimmick as much as everybody else does. Mariah May's gone and in NXT now. Love Willow. I think Statlander's good, but I don't think she's amazing. I think that people like Julia Hart, like, yeah, she's good. Like, she's not amazing either. Mercedes has her upsides and everything, but like that tag team title situation for the women's division, I think exposed a lot to me that I was just kind of like, when Tekla came along, I was like, oh, I like Tekla. We need more Teklas. We need more people like that, and less of the Layla Grays and the we bring in Ami Sakura for something I don't really care. And Riho's one of the former women's division champions, and she pops up once in a while, and it's like I can't get invested in Riho. Serena Deeb, what's she done this year? Yeah, Viva Van got signed this year. Did she even wrestle? Yeah, so it's like that split. I think hurts that a lot too. So if I would have to say like one particular overrated person, part of me kind of wants to just say Toni Storm because it's like, well, she's the whole division in a lot of ways, and I don't think that she deserves to get as much credit as she gets, even though she is the top of the line. But then I could go with any number of different people.
So this is one of the ones where it's like, okay, this category is here, and
Category's done. I'll just say I don't like this category because it's like, who defines who's overrated or underrated? It's either you like someone, don't like someone. You say that like Toni Storm is overrated, but it's like Toni Storm is the best women's wrestler alive, and there's actual definitive, there's actual like I say evidence out there that she could be the greatest women's wrestler in the world right now.
And then that's when people say maybe she's underrated.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's like it's purely not even just subjective. It's like who defines who defines the level which they're rated at. Really, it's like it's controversial. This is a case of I think upgrade and downgrade. That's like you can say things like definitively we get on to the next one, but this one is just basically a case of who do I personally don't like that other people seem to like.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yeah,
the underrated side. Who do I like better than most people seem to like?
So I just, yeah, but it's difficult because it feels like I just have to flame people like that. I just don't feel like just because they're not my cup of tea. They're a lot of people's cup of tea. They all bring something to the table. I certainly wouldn't flame an entire division, which is better than WWE's division. But
that's where I go. Overrated as well. I'll totally disagree. But fair enough. Yeah, that's the whole point. I think that they're overrated. But you got to
feel right. No, I'd say there are two that I don't like that other people seem to. I think that one of them clearly has dropped down level, which is Thunder Rosa. I think that it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say whether she's overrated. There was just a case of should she even still be there at this point, or be primarily focusing on Ring of Honor, or just as more of a training capacity like Serena Deeb, who doesn't appear very often, but it's kind of there to bring awesome experience and that stuff. The other one does get a lot of airtime, which is Julia Hart. She's gotten a lot worse since her injury, and she's never really gone back to the level she was prior to her injury. It's just when you see her in the group and Tekla's come in and been great since she started, and Sky Blue's improved quite a lot. It's quite obvious to see that Julia Hart is the weak link in ring wise in that group. And when you are a wrestling promotion that focuses on the in-ring stuff like AEW, that's the thing that's going to set you apart. Even if you have a good aesthetic and a good entrance and good vibe around you, it's just overall, if you can't get it done between the ropes, you are just going to drop down. Which is why Hook is also there, because Hook's not very good. And people like it, but I think there's a lot more. It's one of the things that it's hard to say whether he's overrated because I think a lot of people started to now turn on Hook and just want him to go to NXT, where he could fester and rot in there instead. And then then the other choices I had are Cope and Cage, because they're not seeing, and no, they're not the case of like just they're not seeing, so they're overrated. It's a case of they're just old men now, and Cage was great before, and obviously I've had Cage win like rest of the year in these awards before, but he's him now turning babyface. There's lost a bit of an edge about him, and Cope isn't an edge anymore. So it's like, and he's just they're just two old guys that win all their matches. With Cope in particular, just wins all his matches, but doesn't really contribute much outside of that. He's constantly injured or constantly away, and when he's here, he's just winning everything and not really putting anybody over. So I'm kind of done with Cope in general. And the other one I had is Daniel Garcia, because I think everything this year with Daniel Garcia has been meh. Like really just underwhelming. His TNT title reign didn't go well at all, and just fizzled out with the Adam Cole stuff, and then his heel turn, which was supposed to revitalise him after he just faded into the background, hasn't actually worked either. He still just seems like he just the young boy tag team with Yuta rather than standing out on his own.
See, I think that's eventually going to help them stand out, because the Death Riders have enough singles guys. Like, I think if they can get into a tag team and have some strong matches and develop a real nice gel as a team, they're eventually going to be like, oh, this is the perfect move for them at this time in their careers.
Yeah. It might work out, but it's just a thing. I just don't think Garcia's blossomed the way that a lot of people would hope that he would, especially coming back at the end of last year and having an immediate feud with MJF and all that stuff. He hasn't had a burst of character. I say he's a great wrestler and he's still going to do that stuff, but it's not a case like he needs to be over the top flamboyant. It's just, he's just very bland. But I'm probably going to go with Cope because, there will be people out there who will just worship the ground he walks on for the stuff that he did 25 years ago.
He's just as good as he always was. No, he's gotten older.
No, he kind of sucks right now, and he's not doing anything to help the next generation come through.
Somebody else that I have as like, I'm looking through the roster right now, and I'm just like, if I can pinpoint somebody else. I can't speak specifics, but it's mostly because I don't watch Ring of Honor, and the little bits and pieces that I see here and there, whatever. I still don't see what's like so amazing about Lee Moriarty.
Oh, that's underrated of the year. One of the choices for underrated of the year. So.
It's a matter of like the bits and pieces that I do see, he seems fine, and I don't see. I never see anything that seems great, and that's mostly on like I'm not actually really watching the show, so I just don't see it technically. And like when I'm watching the match with Nigel McGuinness, I'm not paying full attention to the entire thing because I have to do 3 freaking shows at the same time and all that. So it's like I'm missing elements there. But from what I do see, there's plenty of other people that I can see moments and go like, okay, I'm not familiar with them, but I instantly understand why everybody goes nuts over them. I've never felt that about
Moriarty
Moriarty.
is a really good technical wrestler, and I think we know that like you're somebody who wasn't fully into Danielson the first time you saw Danielson. I think it's more that when it comes to Moriarty for you.
Probably is, but as far as just like personal, I'm not. If somebody were to be like, "Oh, is Lee Moriarty great?" I'd be like, "I don't know. Seems like any other guy to me." And then everybody goes nuts over him. I'm like, you either gotta show me something, I gotta sit and watch it, or maybe it just isn't something that would connect with me. But
I mean, and actually we've had a really good conversation about the category in general. And I see the things that Callum's saying about like Cope and Cage. I have more to say about Cage in a different category in a couple seconds, but I'm not going to say they're overrated because I think everybody mostly knows what they're bringing to the table at this stage. But then again, maybe I'm giving people too much credit. I thought people knew Cena was losing. I'll keep it short and sweet because I've said it before. My most overrated woman on the roster, and probably overall, would be Toni Storm, just because I personally need a break. This is nothing but me. I need a break from this. So that's my pick there. I also want to say that for a long time in the early part of this year, it looked like Moxley was running away with the category, but the Death Riders thing really turned around. And thank God, too, because for a minute there, it really felt like this is the worst thing this company's done so far. But for me personally, it's Toni Storm, and like I said, it's just because I personally need a break.
yeah, that's very much a potential option. I would say with
When
them.
it comes to underrated, I honestly think, even at the age that he is, it's amazing that the stuff that Shelton Benjamin's doing.
He's on my list.
I think, Lee Moriarty is somebody that I would say, I would say that Kyle O'Reilly came out swinging at the end of the year to show how, useful he can be. But I think, for me, and this just more goes to show my favorite future people, I'm a big fan of Tommy Belton, I'm a big fan of Tag Team Adam Priest, but overall, I like the one guy in the Death Riders no one likes. I like Wheeler Yuta.
Wheeler's on my list.
I like Wheeler. He's so much fun. And I hope that he turns it around because, I hear the things people say about him, but I like him. I think he's a lot of fun to watch in the ring.
A couple other people I had down on my list, and I know that I bring them up all the time, but I do think that there is more value to Jack Perry and Sammy Guevara than what they are able to really do and how the audience kind of perceives them and all. Of course, this has been like less and less of an argument for me each year as time's going on, and like in particular, I don't even know if I necessarily would put Sammy Guevara on this list this year, but I'm like, man, those guys had a lot of potential, and it seems like they didn't really want to push them in some ways, and then in other ways they did, and it didn't work and all. I also have Jet Speed on the list because they're used in very frequent good spots, but they tend to lose most of the time, and I'm like, I kind of want them to maybe win those tag titles,
I think they will soon. One for overrated. Again, completely personal. Everything Callum said about Cope, but applied to Bobby Lashley. Like, what? Bobby Lashley hasn't lost a singles match yet. He's currently injured, so he won't be doing that anytime soon. And for the most part, he just hasn't lit AEW on fire in any way.
Any underrated ones you got, Cal?
I said Lee Moriarty earlier, but I just think that he's such a great wrestler. I just don't think he gets utilised he hasn't afforded the opportunity outside of the stuff from Ring of Honor to really showcase himself. I had this one, and I don't know if it's just on the basis of the strength of her last match with Red Velvet. That match with Mercedes was so good that like she could be spotlighted more, maybe given more opportunities outside Ring of Honor. Big Bill, should use Big Bill more. He's really good. Josh Alexander.
Arguably, yeah. I mean, he's a fun guy that they just have as like, I guess we'll throw him into that 6-man tag.
Yeah,
most of
I
the
feel,
time.
like, I feel like he's like one of the, because there's so many big names in the County, like you've got your big three at the moment of Takeshita, Okada, and Fletcher, and then you kind of got Cesaro's the level below that, and Josh Alexander just feels like he's a bit lost in the shuffle with that one and hasn't really been able to forge his own path a bit. I understand being part of the group, but he just doesn't seem to be doing that much at the moment. I think he could be doing more. Powerhouse Hobbs. The reason why I think he's underrated is because I think that he should be world champion, but he should have been world champion by now, and he should be. I think he should be world champion right now. I think he should have been the guy that beat Hangman Page for the title rather than Samoa Joe.
I think there is a very strong argument for that.
I will keep saying that until he does like become like an actual permanent main eventer rather than just, there's a lot of things, and it's the rules with AEW, same WWE, same basically every promotion. Push fucking young people. Stop saying the same people over and over and over again. It's just like we need to get out of this habit of just pushing the same old people. Because you know what happens when you push young people? Like in New Japan, you get Okada burst on the scene and they run through the greatest golden period of their entire history by having him be like the young upstart coming against like a top legend like Tanahashi and just having those two play off each other. And then you have guys like Steve Austin, who wasn't like super young, but like was a fresh face coming in, and The Rock and people like that. And then you revitalise a whole dying promotion. And so,
Yeah, you build for the future, yeah.
You had 20 years.
You got 20 years out there when you should have realistically got 10 years and then started pushing the next generation, but then you decided to carry on for another 10 years instead. So but that's the thing with all these ones. Yes, you have your top main players, but you need to start bringing the next group through, and Hobbs should be part of that generation. But the one I go for most underrated probably, just someone I just really like and feel like he should be doing something, should be part of some group or some act, or should be doing something what he does, which is AR Fox. I think he does stuff in the ring which is like just crazy, intuitive. Like I just think that I'm not saying he should be world champion or anything like that, but I feel like he should be part of the Swerve act, probably. He could be like Swerve's kind of ride or die sort of guy, because they have that history, inbuilt history with each other through stuff through Lucha Underground and other independent promotions. They have a connection. And I just feel like he could be on TV more regularly, being, a job guy for Swerve, being like, okay, he's my sometimes tag team partner, he'll lose more of the important matches, but he's there to have some more frequent matches on TV rather than just being brought out every 4 weeks or so and just having a great match with whoever the next guy is they want to put over.
I also think that to an extent that Anthony Bowens could be listed as an underrated because he seems to have just dropped off, and I'm like, I see value.
This year has been rough for those two.
Yeah.
Rough for us as well, I'm to watch it.
Yeah, but that's my point. Because like in the same vein, like I think Brian Keith fits somewhere in this discussion, but at the same time, where he was saddled really kind of took a lot of the shine off him, and I don't know if people care now, unfortunately.
I do have Anthony Bowens down as an option, and Max Caster for the next category where it's improvement wrestler. That's biggest upgrade, biggest downgrade. I've got him down as two of the options for downgrade. That's for sure. Because the Acclaimed was at one point in time easily the most over tag team in the company, if not even across WWE and AEW, and not this year, not at all.
See, I kind of go like year by year, so I definitely have Anthony Bowens down as a slight downgrade, but I'd almost argue that Max Caster is an upgrade because Caster's popular now. when he was
The gimmick has helped a lot, and like
The gimmick my ass, the chant. People like chant. And the chant
let's go back to the great wrestler alive. Yeah, I mean it's alarmingly not catchy to the point that it's catchy. Yeah, a couple of options I got for downgrade though are Jay White, unfortunate circumstance of an injury. Same with Adam Cole. I also have Britt Baker and Chris Jericho down.
Put a pin in Jericho.
I might be arguing against Jericho because Jericho was Ring of Honor World Champion this year. So
That's, I mean,
I
that,
might go downgrade statue, but I think people were hating on Jericho last year as well, so I don't think that's really changed in the grand scheme of things. Baker comes down, she just hasn't appeared at all this year, and she at least appeared for a little while last year.
She hasn't appeared. If she appeared at all this year, then I don't remember. And if she did, it was not memorable. But the only topic that's been revolving around Baker this year is she or is she not fired?
it seems like Baker's Tony Khan's been a lot more optimistic when talking about Baker than he has when it comes to Jericho. And Jericho I have in this category as well, just because I know what you're saying, people hated on him last year as well, and he wasn't a world champion. But Jericho went from like a de facto like pivotal guy for the company. So yeah, he left in April and he's just done nothing. And by the way, we're waiting for him to come in the Royal Rumble. Like, that's crazy to me, just because of how I saw Jericho's introduction to the company and role in the company. It's crazy that he's just like, yeah, he fucked off and we're okay with it. But that's how the cookie crumbles. This is the category where I have Christian Cage, because not only did he have maybe the dumbest cash-in across the board of wrestling cash-ins this year, and I mean maybe of all time when it comes to cash-ins, because that Revolution ending sucked, but he also turned babyface to team with Edge, kind of just went through the motions throughout that entire process, and then because Edge fucked off, he fucked off with no reason.
True.
And this is where I go, as much as I am a fan of those two guys, and I don't hate them, I think it's ridiculous that, they're attached at the hip to such a degree that because Edge had to go do something, you couldn't write Christian off TV. It was just like, yeah, okay, man, you go do what you gotta do. I'll be around. That was like 4 months ago. And I think that to go from being one of the most fun and pivotal characters you've ever been to just being an afterthought, I think he has to be my personal winner for downgrade of the year. Because it was ridiculous.
Like a few people listed into the downgrade have you mentioned Christian Cage, he's definitely on there. I've got people like Britt Baker, Wardlow in the same vein, because he just can't catch a break. Well, he doesn't catch breaks, and that's his issue.
Yeah, of course. I didn't have him here because I don't even know if you call it a downgrade, because he showed up finally and then had to go away again. But
Yeah, the only reason I didn't have him down is because he didn't have a good 2024 either. And I was just kind of like, well, it's almost just like he's not around anymore in the company. Like, I forget about Wardlow constantly.
I'd say Hook as well, because I guess now he's part of main act, it's not really true, but it's like last year they surrendered for the World Championship, and then it's like, okay, now he's kind of, his whole identity is gone, because it seemed like everything he did revolved around the championship, and it's like, okay, he's given out the championship so he can do something different, and they just didn't do anything with him, really. Then you have guys like Eddie Kingston's come back, he doesn't look the same way, but it's going to take time, so I don't want to give him because, we're letting he's back into it, it's been a long time out injured. Same with Hologram, he just can't get going because of injuries. But just to be different, I think that Chris Cage is definitely worthy of it, and guys like Danny Garcia are probably worthy of it as well. I'll go Private Party, because they started the year as tag team champions, and they're going to end the year never being featured, and probably off to WWE in sometime in the future.
I totally forgot about Private Party.
To the point where they'll be gone. Yeah, it's downgraded to the point because they were very celebrated when they won it, but the fact they'll be gone, and I don't think anyone's going to miss them. And the tag team division's actually gone, not because of this reason, but the tag team division has kind of been thriving in the last 6 months without them. So
the upgrade side of things, though, at least I think it's on the positives. Got a couple of people down for that. I think that if you base off of comparing his time in WWE, I think that Ricochet is a great option for this, and even just the progression of when he first started in AEW, that was pretty rough for a little while there. He came around, and he's doing some great stuff now. Kyle Fletcher, just better and better and better as time goes on. Went from somebody that I was like, I'm not quite seeing the big deal, to okay, I totally get it. He's awesome. Harley Cameron, talk about an upgrade. I mean, she ends the year as a tag team champion. That's huge considering where she was before. Very good option you could go with Bandito, because he had missed out on last year, and to go from being like completely out of the game to being a tag team champion as well as the head of the Ring of Honor division. Great matches and everything like that. He's a really top candidate for that. But I do have to eat some crow a little bit and give credit where it's due. That it took a long time, and it's a big step up. I know her, you know her. Marina Shavir had a much better 2025 than she's ever had.
I mean, we know her now. Like, I think, and you're going to hear similar discussion when we talk about WWE when it comes to Most Improved. I like when we rag on somebody and then they have a great fucking year, and now it's like, oh man, I'm so glad that they came through.
Around. Yeah.
And Marina Shafir is probably the peak of that, because it went from like, I don't know, wasn't she just in NXT because she was like Ronda's friend and she was just sort of hanging around. They had her paired with Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose. But she's a great pick for this. I'm going to say the name Mercedes Moné, and you're going to be like, what the fuck? But I'm just going to say that there was a minute there where it felt like, man, this girl left and hasn't had a great time of anything. And this was the year that she kind of fulfilled her destiny, I think. Where it's like, okay, you're the top name in women's wrestling outside of WWE, and maybe even including WWE. You're still the top of the top. And I think I'm so happy to see that, because it took people a long time to come around to Mercedes outside of WWE. And I'm glad that now people love what she's doing, and she's got all these belts. And it's been really cool to see her fulfill everything she said she was going to do. So she's up there for me as well. Another name from Kyle Fletcher, we had him, I think he was the winner last year of all three of us, but like, he's only continued to get better. You guys talked about Bandito. He's only continued to get better. Takeshita's realizing his full potential this year. Mascara Dorada is having some bangers this year. There's a lot of fun people to shout out this year, and I love that. But I think personally I'm going with Mercedes, because as one of the few people I actually would probably be considered a stan of, it was a rough time of it, and I'm glad that she's actually killing it now.
So a lot of names brought up are on my list as well. So I've obviously got Bandito because he went from being someone that was just on the shelf for so long, and now he feels like such a pivotal part of the AEW and Ring of Honor fabric. I have Brody King for that list as well. I think Brody King has stepped up as well as part of this thrown together slightly odd tag thing that just really works well together. I'd say obviously Kyle Fletcher, Kyle O'Reilly for his recent work, Ricochet of course, Holly Cameron, Rage Fear, Nick Wayne. I think that I know he's ended injured, which is not fortunate, but I think that he's shown a lot more character and personality now as the head of that faction, and hopefully once he does come back to full health, he'll be able to live up to that even more and continue to build on what he's been doing so far. Luchasaurus. He's back. He's part of the tag team again, and that's great because he's been just out of it for so long, and he suffered a really bad injury to the point where it's like, was he ever going to come back?
Yeah, and I mean, he almost apparently was like life-threatening. So shout out to him.
Yeah, and now he's back doing kind of what he was built to be, which is the base of the tag team. And then there's two other standout choices to me, which is Chris Statlander and Hangman Page. Like Hangman Page feels like again he felt well, as like, I know he's lost the title now, but for a while, and even still, he feels like the main character of the company again when he kind of fell away. He still was doing a lot of cool stuff in 2024 with the heel character, but now he feels like that. Has that main character energy part of it again. And Chris Statlander's now doing a champion. It's been a long time coming, and she's had to go through a lot as well. She's suffered serious injuries and had to rebuild herself and become a heel and change her character and change her perspective. But now she feels like, and I'd say that since like the end of last year when she had this match with Mercedes, that she is at a level that's of greatness now. And now she has the title to prove it, and she's beaten both Mercedes and Toni Storm to cement that as well. So we'll wait to see whether she does have this great feud that will define her title reign. But for now, I think that it's still like a massive upgrade from where she was last year. So yeah, I'll go with Chris Statlander because I think it's cool to see her as the women's champion after all this time.
Let's move over to ring work. I don't really need to explain that one. Best worse of that.
No, please.
So
I don't know what it means.
when you get the people in the ring,
I need an opponent, right?
so a man and another man, or a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or two men and two women, or whatever the next tag match is.
Two men and women.
whatever the combination when they love each other.
Does the ring go on my finger?
It depends
Or is it different? Yeah,
if it's a good match or not. Sometimes you get stuck with things. On the best ring work side of things, I've got 4 people down as possible options. Pretty normal case of some guys. Bandito, Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay, the usual suspects. It's not going to surprise anybody. It's not going to be like, and that he's going to go to Turbo Floyd out of all people. He's not bad, but like the best ring work or whatever. And this was one of the ones that I wasn't sure who I would go with for the worst. I don't have anybody that stands out to me on the top off the top of my head. Mostly because the people that aren't all that good or aren't at least like pretty standard are people that I block out more than anything. So if there was some particularly bad person that showed up for one match and they never really wrestled elsewhere, or maybe they wrestled in Ring of Honor that I don't watch, whatever it might be, on the main roster things, I don't know. They're all at least like decent for the most part, unless you're somebody that's not really there. Like I said, I'm saying, I don't know if I really count somebody like that. Did he even wrestle?
I watched him wrestle. He wrestled in Daily Place. I watched him live.
I guess like maybe him. I don't know, but I didn't see it. So I don't know if I can really pick somebody like that if I didn't really check him out. So I don't know about that one. That's one of my gaps.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's really bad. Like for the not to be cliche, those were the best wrestle, but like they're pretty well covered in that category.
Even in WWE too, when we get to that, it's like wrestling nowadays, if you're really that bad, you usually tend not to stick around all that much. Some people suck, but
if you're that bad, it stands out to a point where you're probably one of the only ones in this category.
Yeah.
But best wise, I've got, Will Ospreay. When you're in several matches of the year contenders for me, you got to be up for Wrestler of the Year. I've got Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné, Bandito, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle O'Reilly just for his end of the year efforts, Hangman Page because he was in the match of the year. But I think, and even Omega this year had some good matches. Unfortunately, his best one was outside of AEW. But I'm gonna go Will Ospreay again because he's the best wrestler in the world, probably objectively.
Yeah. So I don't buy into the argument that they're all decent. I think there are some bad wrestlers in AEW. I would say one of them, and maybe this is just a reflection of just being a shell of himself and that now really coming into the forefront is Jericho. It's just because he's so slow now when he does wrestle that it's just hard to separate what he used to be to what he is now. Which you can do with certain people. I just can't really do with Jericho. Maybe just because like he sets such a high standard for me as one of my favorite wrestlers of many generations. But now it's just it's a bit sad seeing him just continue to try and do all that stuff.
It sucks too. What was it, like a year or two ago that he did the Lionheart stuff and was actually like in great shape and having some pretty decent matches. And just sometimes you gotta know when to pull the plug.
I think there's an argument for both, like Bowens and Custer to an extent. Mainly Bowens actually because there's more to wrestling than just moves. And I like a lot of his ring work, just that he just doesn't have a connection, and he just doesn't do stuff that builds a connection with the audience that I just seen in a single run. Maybe it would change if he's part of the tag team again, but right now it's just not really connecting. And then there's two that are probably 1 and 2 for me, which is Julia Hart, just because she's lost a lot of motion. She looks very slow now. But there's someone that I just feel like we need to kind of move on from now, and that's Anna Jay. She's been there a while. She doesn't wrestle a lot because I think they know that she can't really carry it that well. Like they tried to do the Stardom thing of sending her out for a while. Obviously, she would need a lot longer. I think she's at a point that she really is passionate about pro wrestling. They need to let her go and have loads of matches on the independent circuit. Whether you keep her employed and you just let her go for a while, or you just release her and then she makes her own way on the independent circuit and sees how she can improve and develop her skill set. Because she's clearly passionate about it. I don't think that there's any doubt in the passion. I just think the mechanics just are all wrong with her. And I don't know how, at this point, if you're like 5-6 years into her development and she hasn't really improved beyond when she started, maybe slightly, but it's still fractional. I just think that you kind of have to know when to pull the plug eventually. And then the best, I've got quite a lot of people listed. Got Moxley, Page, Kyle Fletcher, obviously, so good, and Will Ospreay's great, and Toni Storm, Chris Statlander, Mercedes Moné, Athena, they all had great matches, Swerve. But I'm going to go with Bandito. The reason why I'm not going with Ospreay is even though Ospreay is objectively, I say objectively, I know it's all subjective really, but like he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Yeah, I suppose objective is the best wrestler in the world. He did miss like a third of the year. Whereas Bandito's been going pillar to post on Dynamite, on Collision, on Ring of Honor, on pay-per-view, having loads of great matches. And I think that this year, I think he's earned the right to be the best in-ring worker, just from both a quality perspective and as a consistency perspective as well.
So let's switch over to the mic work side of it. Now, when Amanda, no, I'm just kidding. That's obviously.
And they fuck the mic, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, according to some people, that's their entire gimmick is to do things that are sort of like that, and that's where I can get into. Toni Storm's character infuriates me sometimes, and the mic work that she does is. I'll keep repeating it in this way. The very best way for me to explain my disliking of the Toni Storm gimmick is I don't like that aesthetic. So it's the same as if somebody were to be like, "Isn't Betty Boop a classic?" And I'm like, well, in the sense of lots of people liked it and it's old, yes. In the sense of, do I have any appreciation for it? It's not my bag. And when Storm cuts her promos for the gimmick she does, she's doing the gimmick well. I just hate the gimmick. I hate the way that people used to talk like that. I think that the way that they used to dress is ridiculous. I don't enjoy that kind of thing. And the same way that when people are like, you can have like a gorgeous model, and if they dress up in that pinup kind of style, I'm like, oh, they look bad. I just don't like it. You know? So it's like, to some people, Toni Storm best mic work, and I can totally understand why they would do it. For me, I hate it. She's not my pick though. I do have some other people that I would go over her. They gotta stop giving Julia Hart and Sky Blue a microphone to cut those very like, we are the Sisters of Sin and we are gonna beat you up later on. Oh my god. No, don't. You know, they're pretty awful. Like if they're going for that kind of, you know, they want to be monotone. Again, bad decision, I think. If they don't want to be monotone, you know, give them some adrenaline or something. Ricochet was awful at the start of the year before he got into his rhythm. He was really struggling at first, and you know, now I can't give it to him as worse because he's gotten, you know, to the point that he's actually fun to listen to like that. Somebody who has never been good on the mic, and I'm sure that, you know, push came to shove, he would probably admit it too. It's not what Roderick Strong is great at. He is a great in-ring performer, but that guy
He's
is
been yelling at people for a while.
the Adam thing and all that. Thankfully, we didn't get that this year the way that we used to. But I'm also going to say another thing that's not new. Mercedes Moné is not as good as she thinks that she is, I think. That's not worse on my microphone, you know, no, but like, as far as like overrated, that would be a thing on that front. So I think I kind of have to go with Julia Hart and Sky Blue maybe, but this is also another one of those categories where it's like the people that are bad at promos tend not to cut as many promos because we know that they're not good at them. And then the ones that are still cutting promos and just not doing a great job, I typically either like zone out when they're talking or I forget about it. And it's just like, I couldn't tell you a single promo that, I don't know, if the Renegades did a promo this year, I don't know.
That's a triple example, but okay.
I just looked at the list, the roster list, and it's like, I don't think that Chris Statlander is great. And I'm like, yeah, she's fine. Most people are fine. It's either you tend to be really good or you're okay, or you're bad enough that I don't remember. And I also don't want to do the whole thing where it's like, oh, you know, when's the last promo that Yuka Sakazaki cut? Oh, she doesn't speak English all that well, so it's not her fault.
This feels more to me closer to the overrated category, where it's like, this is there and it's all going to be super subjective and based on taste. Because I'll be honest, one of the worst for me this year, I'm kind of over MJF's stick. I just, the fact that like this year featured MJF and Jeff Jarrett doing a thing that like was supposed to lead to maybe Jarrett's retirement, but just led to, hey, why don't we just take Jarrett off TV?
Oh, we're talking about that again.
Like, that's partially just because I think everyone in general is kind of sick of MJF just being like, and here's some vulgarities. Not that I'm a prude, obviously, but you know, it is what it is. In that same vein, Toni Storm's stuff really works for people. It just doesn't click for me. Because I'm just like, as I said in the other category, I personally need a break. Where it's just like, I get what you're doing. I can even find it charming. I'm not like Tony, I don't hate the 50s. You know, I don't hate the aesthetic. I just need a little bit of a break. So in that sense, I'm going Toni Storm.
So, worst, I've got like a few people listed. I've got Anthony Bowens, again, the lack of connection with the crowd. I think he's one of the weird things where he actually does have energy for promo, but it's just like, it feels like a really forced energy, which I just don't think works. And it doesn't feel authentic, which is what a lot of the AEW things as well. So I wouldn't put Mercedes in the absolute worst, but like, she needs to work on the authenticity of her promos. They just feel too scripted.
And stop laughing. She has to stop doing the I don't know what to do as a transition, so I'm going to laugh. Like, I don't mind like the laugh if she's like, you know, being a heel and laughing as like, ha ha, I beat that person or whatever, but not the kind of thing. It's like, that's your way of avoiding saying
Got guys like Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry, I just don't think they've ever really been that great on the microphone, and this year's kind of reinforced as well. And that's kind of always going to be maybe a bit of a ceiling for them in terms of their progression. Cool Kyle O'Reilly, Cool Kyle just doesn't work. It's like, Cool Kyle's pretty bad. He's worse than Roderick Strong. Trina Deeb, she's very wooden. Sky Blue's always been a bad promo. I didn't put Julia Hart. I think the monotone thing works for Julia Hart's aesthetic. I don't think the same applies to Sky Blue. And because not like Tekla doesn't speak like that, and they're part of the same group, so I think Sky Blue should have her own style as well. But she just doesn't have a very characterful voice. But worst, I'm going to go with Hook, because they knew what they had with Hook because they didn't have him talk for ages, and he was kind of like, you know, the silent killer type. But now he's in a gimmick or in like the stage of his career where he is having to couple promos, and he's really, really not good at it. Like, he's very, very one note and doesn't offer a lot of, like, there's not a second gear with his promos. Just, okay, I'm just going to talk like this and, you know, act like I'm all cool. And something might vibe with that like too cool school type of approach. But for me, it worked when he started because they treated him like, okay, he's just a silent killer. But now he's, you know, just part of the group and should be trying to do more, and it doesn't work. They should probably, if I were them, I wouldn't put him, like, to remove him from any of these conversations in the future, just, you know, go back to having him not talk at all. Just be, you know, a couple of words here or there, but nothing else.
He's definitely, like, it's a unique thing, but it's also like, it doesn't work. You know, the promo he cut where he was just like, yeah, it's time for me to go on my own. Or maybe not. And you're just like, oh, okay, I'm more confused than when I started in that fun way.
But it does go kind of funny because like Taz is a really good promo. Taz has, you know, he stumbles over his words every now and again, quite a bit unconscious, but like he has personality to him. Yeah. He has a very strong personality, and it just hasn't translated over to Hook at all. On the case where like the apple fell very far off the tree, it fell down a cliff, and just like, has never hit the floor at this point.
Was it this year or was it last year when Shivani was like, pay attention to Taz on commentary, and he's all like, pay attention, I watched the match.
I think that was earlier this year.
That's great.
It's a case of, listen, Taz got the personality, Hook's got the looks. You know, there's a little trade-off there for them.
What rhymes with Taz to go with Hook and looks? Taz the spaz. Best mic work stuff. Some perennial. You get Eddie Kingston a microphone. He's going to do a good job. As kind of wild as it is, Mark Briscoe is always fun to listen to. It might not make a ton of sense, but I will be able to track it a lot more than Ultimate Warrior, at least, I shout out to Harley Cameron. It was a lot of fun this year, and one of the more entertaining characters on the mic. But I think I gotta go Don Callis.
Not yet, but maybe that'll be my catchphrase of the year.
It's gonna be my catchphrase. I say that, but he's good in every single promo.
It's wild. I stumbled across on the Free Samsung TV. They have like an Impact or TNA channel, and they're showing Ellipse at Impact where Don's just on commentary in a nearly empty arena, and you're like, wow, things turned around for him real quick because he's maybe the top manager just in general, and I think that's really cool. But he's not my best mic work. He did say my best mic work, and that's Mark Briscoe, because it's fun and it's different and it's old school in a modern way. That's actually like, we're not doing old school and we're gonna remind you over and over again that this is what wrestling used to be. Like, no, like Mark Briscoe is just a rambling Southern babyface that says things like a maniac and connects with the audience, and so much so that there's just a group of weirdos and they can go together at any point called the Conglomeration because Mark Briscoe just says words. And he's my favorite on the mic. He goes to smile on his face. Other names I had were Hangman, because when he's good, he's really good. Joe, when he's good, he's really good. Kingston is maybe the most authentic, and he's one of the people who I think his mic skills will carry him to a potential AEW World Title run someday. Maybe not, but if anything gets in there, it'll be the mic skills. You said Harley Cameron, she's a lot of fun this year. I don't hate Mercedes. I get why you do, though. But really, Mark Briscoe was just tremendous this year.
Yeah, so got a lot of people listed down, Don Callis and Mark Briscoe, Harley Cameron. I'd say Willow's a great promo. I like Tony Storm. Who doesn't like smashing clowns on TV? Like all this other stuff. Talk about, he's one of the people that can just get away with saying this sort of stuff, and I find it endearing. I put Hangman definitely because he can cut some excellent promos on his day, and I think Will Ospreay's almost as good a promo as he is a wrestler. Like he is like the king of this sort of authenticity. Him and Mark Briscoe just really just translate all of that authenticity and character for it. Like you can clearly tell that that's what they're thinking, that's what they're saying. It just doesn't feel forced or scripted in any way, shape, or form. But I'm gonna go John Moxley, because I just feel the cerebral tone in his voice when he talks, the messages that he gets across, some of it, like, it's very Jake Roberts, like, some of it will kind of go over your head a little bit, and you might not know exactly what he's saying or why he's saying it, but he conveys it with such a fierce demeanour and like, but a calmness under that surface as well, that I just feel like it's very, very, like, it's different than a lot of the other promo styles you see on TV these days. It's like, it's not very bombastic, because Mark Briscoe is obviously great at what he does, and that's like a more traditional style, but that very, like, soft-spoken to the camera, the way they shoot and produce a lot of his promo segments as well, I just think it all just adds to the vibe and makes him one of the best promos in the business.
And then we got the final category of the technical skills for AEW, which is the best and the worst match of the year. And I have a separate list that I try to keep track of when it comes to those things a little bit. I have written down apparently a lot of bad matches on Collision and Dynamite that I didn't see, just from having to do coverage and not being able to pay attention to the things. Because I looked at the cage match list and I was like, I don't remember a lot of these. So like some of the ones that were listed as particularly bad just like didn't ring a bell, and I didn't write them down at the time, or I didn't see them at the time. The only match that I did write down, and this was all the way back in January though, was Claudio against Jeff Jarrett from Dynamite, January 29th. And off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what was wrong about it, but for me to jump into my list and write that down at the beginning of the year and be like, yep, it's going to be one of the worst of the year, it must not have been that good.
Well, it's Claudio and Jeff Jarrett, so I can maybe guess what happened there.
Yeah, yeah. I can't recall everything off the top of my head, but I do remember. I do have that one listed down, as I knew it was going to be a bad one.
That's interesting. I kind of want to go back and watch that now, because I don't recall that at all. So, must have been a real stinker at the time, though. Worst matches? This is one of those where, like, maybe for me, it's something like the Casino Gauntlet at all, just because that's the one that MJF won, and it felt like there could have been more surprises there, and I just didn't get as much of that as I thought I was going to, but I can't think of anything dreadfully bad off the top of my head.
I'm just looking at the Claudio and Jeff Jarrett match now just to see what it was all about, and it's like, towards the ending of it, it's like it's the typical like early year Death Riders interference, like Moxley's getting involved, Yu's getting involved, using steel chairs and everything. Like they have like Claudio wins with the neutralizer, and that was like the whole thing was being built around like Jeff Jarrett at the start of the year trying to chase the world title. So I guess they found it deflating, and then it was just tons of interference. And why does Claudio need to have an interference to beat Jeff Jarrett and all this stuff? So yeah,
it's currently listed as the lowest rated match of the entire year on Cage.
It probably was.
Yeah.
I'd say I think that like as a standard it was pretty low, but there's three other ones I have listed. There was a bad match between Chris Jericho and Dax Harwood on Collision.
That's
think,
listed
like,
as the
Jericho-
number 2 worst.
Yeah, I know, because I think Jericho had some botchiness in the match as well, which just didn't go well. And also, I think a lot of Jericho's cage match ratings as well have the Jericho tax attached to them, where they were scored a lot lower than what the match actually deserved, just because
It's
people were sick
Jericho
of
now,
Jericho.
so fuck him. Like,
And then there's Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill, because they were just like botches, and it was just Eddie Kingston's first match back, and he just wasn't quite ready, and he wasn't quite at the level that we'd hoped him to be, which is understandable considering how long he's been out injured. But it just, it was a bit sad to see how a lot of like blown spots happened in that match, including like the finish.
That's listed
I
as
think-
the 7th worst match.
But I think the worst match of the year, just because, and technically probably isn't the worst match of the year, but because it's the stage it's on, and the fact that it has to be reflective of the significance of the match and the event that it's on. I think it has to be John Moxley versus Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage at Revolution.
That's listed as the 3rd worst.
I was gonna say
Just-
that I do remember that being really like, oh no, this
'Cause
company is going downhill.
It's like you put it in the context of Revolution had some of the best matches of the year on it. Like, had amazing matches on that too, which I'll mention for the match of the year. But then to end it like that with Moxley Cope, which was actually, I'd turned it around with actually having a good feud leading up to it, but then the match was pretty bog standard, and then you have the stupid cash in. I hate the fact that AEW did a cash in, because it's so, again, it's not even a case of like saying all cash ins are bad, but it's WWE's thing, don't fucking do it. And then it to end that way, and all the fucking like interference involved in it as well. This was like the peak of everyone hating on the Death Riders. It's just like, yeah, it was just a bad way to end what had otherwise been a great show, and that kind of ruins the idea of it being a great show.
I agree.
So on the flip side, best match of the year, I have a couple different candidates on here. I had previously written down some that I didn't add onto the list that I wasn't able to really like fully pay attention to. So like I had down supposedly Bandito versus Konosuke Takeshita at ROH Supercard of Honor was great,
That's
but
really
I
a match of the year.
That was a
Yeah.
great match.
that was one that I was way too busy writing up news posts at the time. So I just didn't see it. And then I didn't, I'm not really too much of the type that if I already know the outcome and I'm not watching it live, I typically don't really want to go back and rewatch it because it's not going to feel the same. So I just didn't. So, shout out to that one if it was as great as everybody says that it was. I also was stuck not being able to watch All In 100% since that was when NXT Great America Bash was happening at the same time. And that's, it's always a pain in the ass when you're having to do coverage for multiple websites at the same time and also write up news posts and then also change when champions or, whatever. And then it's 2 shows at the same time. It's like, then I'm not watching the show as much as I'm listening. And, that's not the same. But I had written down other specifics. I wrote down that the Lights Out match at Forbidden Door was a ton of fun. Ospreay and Fletcher steel cage match at Revolution, which I talked about earlier. Athena versus Mercedes Moné Dynamite Spring Break Owen Hart Cup semifinals. The Konosuke Takeshita Will Ospreay Owen Hart Cup semifinals at Spring Breakthrough. And the Anarchy in the Arena matches are always a lot of fun, so that gets a shout out too. I've got the Owen Hart Foundation finals of Paige and Ospreay at Double or Nothing, which I'm sure a lot of people would have pretty high up on their list too. I don't know exactly what's like, super high up on there, but Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega at All In, and Moxley Hangman at All In too.
There's a lot of great choices. Just a lot of the ones that I've got listed there as well. I think other ones that haven't been mentioned. I think Adam Page versus Carl Fletcher from All Out was a great main event match. I would say that I didn't have it listed, but until recently, because it didn't happen until recently. But Carl Fletcher versus Mike Bailey from Dynamite, I think, is one of the 3 best Dynamite matches of the year, along with Ospreay versus Takeshita and Mercedes versus Athena. Cole Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe from Full Gear. Because I don't know how they turned that crowd around after how tired they were. I think that they just went balls to the wall, and I would say that their whole series of matches could be up here for this because they just have tremendous chemistry with each other. And I'd say that one that hasn't got mentioned that I think definitely needs an honourable mention at the very least is Toni Storm versus Mariah May from Revolution.
Yeah, I have that on my list as well. There was so much discussion at the time that should have closed the show.
Mhm.
And perhaps it really just should have. You know, we know what's happened with Mariah May since then, and it makes that entire angle, honestly, it puts it in a different light. But that was a great match. Maybe the peak of not only Mariah's time in AEW, but the Toni Storm character for me. The Young Bucks against Swerve and Osprey was a
Mhm.
fantastic match. Obviously, the Kyle Fletcher Will Osprey Steel Cage match. Tony mentioned it with the Takeshita Bandito Ring of Honor World Title match. The match between QT and Paul Walter Hauser was the best QT Marshall match I've ever seen. I mean, low bar, but like that was a really good match that I just wasn't expecting to be so fun. But for me, my pick is Double or Nothing, Paige and Will Ospreay. I think that was the best match of the year. That was the most exciting and nail biting finish in a long time because that was one that really could have gone either way in terms of like, do you have Osprey win and then win the title at All In? Do you have Hangman? Yeah, and we know where they went, but I think that was the most fun. I personally had watching a match all year, and I will say that Mariah May was the number 3 voted match, and Double or Nothing was the number 2 voted match of the year as far as cage match is concerned. And yeah, both great matches, but for me, it's Double or Nothing.
I think looking at all the options they have here, I think it's between Paige and Ospreay, Storm and Mariah May, and Paige and Moxley at All In. Just because the
That
Paige
is
and
the number
Moxley
1
thing
voted
is
match.
just because like but it's almost like it's a moment as well as a match, and like it's hard to kind of choose between. I think just to be different, and also because I think it deserves flowers, I'm going to go with Toni Storm versus Mariah May at Revolution. I think it deserves at least one of our nods for match of the year.
I wish that there's a way that, like, I always wish that I could rewatch like a movie for the first time again, or like, like a transport back to when I first saw something or whatever. I wish I could like somehow rewatch all the good matches to be like, okay, and I'm really gonna like sit down and figure out which one's the best one, and I never have the time to do it, so it's never a means for me to be like, let me see if that Fletcher Osprey Revolution match is legitimately the best, or if the other ones can beat it out or something, or because it's like I remember the moment of like Paige beating Moxley at All In, but I couldn't tell you the first 5 minutes of any of these matches, or it's hard to remember. Also, we're just oversaturated with so much of this content. So when you watch 12 hours or 13 or 20 hours or whatever wrestling each and every single week,
sometimes in one night,
yeah, it's just hard to keep track of it more than anything else. And that's why you go back in time to some previous end of the year awards, and it's like, oh, they can remember a lot of details. Oh, I had an eighth of as much to remember. No wonder.
To speak on the Mariah May thing, just as a preview for the WWE Awards, I don't think she's going to get downgrade, but when you think about how she was booked in the one company and her final match in the one company versus what she's doing now, it certainly does feel like the biggest downgrade because she was such a big star in AEW, and perhaps I wish she stayed there, but at the same time, she told such a perfect story that it's almost nice that she left it as she did.
We got plenty more AEW awards to get into because the next section is going to be the writing awards, then eventually the performer awards. But in the meantime, make sure you let us know what you have as your options for best and worst of the technical skills. Leave your comments on our responses to everything too. And follow all the things that we always talk about. You know, check out the link tree at amangotree.com and do your thing. I'm not going to be plugging stuff like crazy, but you know where to find me, and you know where to find Robin Callum too.
Yep, you know where to find me. It's @DudeFelice everywhere.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky with Most14 and check out all the other stuff that I do on smartcomoment.com.
All right, everybody, click on the next part if you need to click on it, and if you don't, then we will be right back. But part 2 of the 2025 End of the Year Awards for AEW and the Smarkies will be next up. So adios for now. Click on that, and we will see you then. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.
If you ever see this credit card, be warned. It might just change your financial future. Here's what could happen. Stage 1. You get approved in just 2 minutes. Or Atlas sends you $50 just for trying. Stage 2. You get up to a $1,000 sign-up bonus and go on a shopping spree to celebrate, and with 0% interest. Click the link to apply for the Atlas credit card today, get approved in 2 minutes, and get up to a $1,000 sign-up bonus today.